Welcome to Delta Motor Racing. This is round 5 of tier number 4. This week, the guys have been learning their way around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada. This track initially joined the calendar in 1978, and the layout itself is built on a man-made island known as the Isle Notre Dame. The 4.4 kilometer lap hosts 14 turns, not least of which is the final one. With the exit being so crucial, many great drivers had ended up in the wall, earning it the name the Wall of Champions. The remains of the lap is characterized by decidingly tricky chicanes which undulate across the island. In the driver standings here, Furion leads the way after making it 2 wins from 2 races in the last event. And his success is also influencing the constructors, where McLaren lead the way from a neck-and-neck battle between the Prancing Horses and the Silver Arrows. My name is Tom Davis. I'm joined in the commentary box, as ever, by the fantastic Edwin. How are you doing?
Hello everyone, I'm doing great. And speaking of Furion as well, he is on his way on an outlap here. So that's obviously great.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he does this week. He's performed well so far, but obviously he didn't race in the first few rounds, so he's not got a huge gap at the top as such.
Yeah, no, definitely not, but if he's gonna drive anything like he has so far, he should be able to extend that gap.
Yeah, hopefully. Whilst 5-7 is disqualified from the session already as a result of blocking the pit lane. So that would most likely be some sort of hardware issue. I had that happen to me once where the pedals don't connect, for example. But Furion will ride on board as he begins his lap, flows through the final corner. That's the one you've got to watch out for, and crosses the start-finish line. You want to take the shortest possible path down into turn 1 on the brake, third at the apex, squirt it into turn number 2. Keep the revs up, keep the car moving round, then get smoothly on the power. A couple of quick upshifts will help you out there to stop the wheels spinning up. And then you need to get it stopped and accelerate down the hill. Watch for the oversteer, use all the track, a little bit of curb through turn number 5, and you're already into 6 all the way around. You can either take a lot of curb or no curb. A little bit, however, you're going to be spun round before you've even got a chance to correct it. Accelerate through the DRS zone, down into turn number 8. We've seen lots of incidents in this one in previous tiers, so you'll need to be careful there come the race. It's got a nice run though, and then you just let it flow towards the hairpin. When the tarmac changes color, that's when you floor it on the brakes, bring it all the way down. First gear at the apex is often recommended by the pros, and then you accelerate down this back straight. You wait. Now the DRS is available, and you keep on just getting quicker and quicker. You're going to almost max it out in top gear here. Brake down to the final chicane. Take as much curb as you possibly can. Be careful not to validate the lap, and accelerate up to the line. What's it going to be for Furion? It's a 1 minute 10.2, which is a very respectable time considering he's on the hard tire.
Charles Leclerc, though, he beat it. Obviously, doesn't matter too much for Furion since he was on the hard tire setting that time. And he's not far off from both Bogdan and Charles Leclerc. They set it on mediums, though.
It's interesting that he's chosen to go for a lap on the hards. That would almost seem like a sighting lap as such, because the optimal strategy here is going to be some combination of mediums and softs, obviously ignoring safety cars. So going out on the hards, I think is very unlikely we see Furion start on that tire.
Yeah, I mean, we see him quite often set a time on the harder compounds and then trying to see how much he can improve on the softer compound. Just so he has, like, if he wants to, he can start on the hardest. Like, he gets the shoes, essentially.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have the option as Furion Milan goes at the top of the times with what is a very solid time, to be honest. 1 minute 9.2 is going to be getting up towards the top end, you would anticipate.
Yeah, definitely. 1 minute 9.2, it's fastest so far, obviously, but Furion is under 1 second off with hards. How quick could this man go on softs?
Yeah, he'll definitely have more to give, you would expect, and it seems like he's going to give the tires a lap to cool down and then go on another lap. So he's going to see if he can improve, and he definitely looked a little bit quicker through the first couple corners. He just flowed and got on the power a little bit quicker, and that's the advantage of this hard tire. It will last so long, you can give it a couple attempts without actually losing, I think, come the race, and that's put him purple in Sector 1 on the hard tire. So he's the man to watch, leading the championship, and he's showing us why through Sector 1. It was nice and tidy through 6 and 7, and what's he going to be like on the brakes into 8. Pretty brave, but he makes sure he gets it turned in. It's a lot of curb though, and that's going to invalidate the lap as he puts 3 of his 4 wheels off the track.
Wait, who were you watching?
I was watching Fury in there. He was going for a second quick lap on the hard
Oh,
tire.
he validated it though.
Yeah, he got a little bit ambitious at 8. He broke much later than he did before, and he had room to improve there, but just tried a little bit too hard.
I think Handicap's also gonna try it on the hard tires here.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. If you start the race on the hard tire, you could go a long way into it, and then softs, next to no fuel, absolutely blitz it with a differential as hard as it can be, as one of the Williams is in the wall there. That's not ideal for them. I believe that might have been Danny Lanfear. But yeah, so it gives you the option to just not have to worry about tire conservation at all and push maximum effort all the time. And that might suit some of these guys' driving style.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna go on the harder compounds so you feel like you're quick enough, it could definitely be better than starting on the softs, for an example.
Yeah, but Handicap, he went deep into the turn 10 hairpin there, and it's going to cost him. He might have made up a little bit of that mistake on the exit, but he's definitely a little bit later up the gears than we saw Furion was, as he accelerates up to almost 205 miles an hour, brakes for the final chicane, absolutely nails it through there. That was just about on the track and no more. What's it going to be as he comes across the line for the Toro Rosso? It's P10, which is not as high as you want to be, but he's about a 10th quicker than his teammate, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, not too shabby considering he's on the hards, but I believe he can go much quicker on the softs.
Yeah, and Furion is also going on that strategy of just the hards may be worth it for what you want to try strategy-wise, but he's going to do an outlap on a set of mediums, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, we got Firo Milan, however. He's currently on an outlap coming out of the hairpin, and he's put on the soft tires, so he's definitely trying to prioritize his grid position, and he's only about 3/10 off of Lair up ahead. So brakes early, make sure that you don't carry too much speed, and no need to make an unnecessary mistake, and then floors it out of turn number 14. It's going to come all the way across on the track to give him the best possible straight line braking into turn number 1. He keeps it in 4th gear, which will help stabilize the car, and that might be enough to just flow through turn 1 a little bit better than you have if you go for the squirt plan instead. And he's taking a lot of curb, and you really do need to in order to open up that racing line. It's looking pretty good so far for the Racing Point. What's he looking at through turn number 6? It's pretty reasonable, and then flows really early on the power through 7, but he's not improved through sector 1. Isn't ideal. What's he going to do in sector 2? He's just coming to the end of it around about now, and one of the weird things to note about this track is where the DRS detection points are. The DRS detection point for both the next straight and the pit straight is right there. That's where it is before the hairpin. So you need to get as close as possible at a bit of an unusual part of the track in order to make an overtake later on.
I feel kind of bad for Charles Leclerc. I mean, this really seems to be a good track for him. He's at 2 fastest lap now. We haven't given him any camera time, but...
No, and Milan is going to pull in. He wasn't improving in the slightest, so...
Yeah, that's rough for him. Charles Leclerc, though, we have to mention it at least. It seems to be a good track for him, setting the fastest lap twice now.
He said it, and then he's improved and said it again, but it's worth noting that he's less than a 10th, about half a 10th up on Bogdan. And with the likes of Fury not having gone out on softer compounds yet, you would anticipate him coming under threat.
He's doing it right now. He's on medium tires, so not quite the softest compound, but he's already improved 3/10, and this could possibly be his outlap. I'm not entirely sure.
No, this is the flying lap. He's just gone purple in sector 2, so
oh, yeah, he's on
you
for
wouldn't
it.
be doing that if you weren't really pushing, and this is looking pretty solid.
Oh, the slipstream as well. He's gonna get a tow.
Driver, like you mentioned, he's got the slipstream, and it's crucially from his teammates, so this could have been planned between Fury and Critical Corey. That'll game him potentially half a 10th, 3/4 of a 10th as he breaks down into 13. There's 14 on the power, potentially a little bit slow as he drifted a little bit through the final corner. Where's it going to put Fury in? P5. So despite a purple middle sector, he's not quite putting together the sectors, because we saw he was purple in sector 1 on the hards as well, so he's got more to find, I would say.
To be fair though, purple in sector 1 on the hards, there was only like 2 people who had set a lap then, so... It wasn't even first to set a lap, possibly? Like, he set a lap very early, so I don't know if we can count that really, but I wanna see him not set a time on the softs here. I wanna see him on the mediums, and I want to see him run through the field there if he can do it.
Yeah, it's tricky to decide where you would be happy starting on the mediums. I think for Furion, traditionally what he's done is he's gone out on the harder compound, and if he can't get on the front 2 rows, then he's gone for the softer one. Now, obviously, that might be different given this particular track, but that's been his general mindset. So if he can't improve, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him concede and try the softer tire.
Yeah, no, I wonder about Bloth and Handicap though. Will they really go for the hards? I mean, Handicap is out of the top 10. He might as well try it on softer compound, surely. He's gonna get free choice.
Handicap, you'd anticipate certainly trying it. Of note, that's the second lap they'd put in on those hard tires. And whilst Handicap didn't improve, I don't think Bloth most certainly did by quite a high margin. So potentially time to find for Handicap, but if you're outside the top 10, then it's probably worth just having a shot on something else. However, the Toro Rosso guys, we know they're one for an adverse strategy, and it has paid off for them in the past, as I say that Handicap that's on the softer tire, but it'll be interesting to see what Bloth does.
Yeah, he might be happy in P10 on those hards, to be fair. I wouldn't be, but we don't know what he's planning.
Yeah, we don't know that for sure. What we do know, however, is that man that we weren't giving any cameraman time, Charles Leclerc, currently out on an outlap, rounding the final hairpin on a set of softs.
We have to watch that.
He's trying to go even faster, and I reckon he might need it, you know? A few of the guys below him have put in somewhat scruffy laps, or laps that are a little bit conservative. So you're going to need a bit more time, I reckon, than a 108.8 to be on pole.
I think he's going to be able to do it. And as you said, he's probably gonna have to. I mean, there's not a lot of time between him and P2 and even P3. Barely a tenth.
It's really, really tight at the top of the field. And like we say, Furion potentially got some time to find. Both the Toro Rosso guys haven't put in a lap on anything other than the hards yet, so they might pop up the order as well. And as I say that, Furion goes top of the timing screens with
on the medium
0.8 on the medium tire. And Charles Leclerc, potentially feeling the heat a little bit, he's invalidated his lap. So he'll come round, he'll try again in a moment, but what a lap from Furion.
Yeah, we didn't even see it. I didn't think he was gonna go for a second lap there, that caught me off guard, but he did. He just figured, let's do it.
It's a tricky one. I mean, there's a limit to how little fuel you can put in these cars in the game. So you do have that advantage. I've seen someone actually in a couple sessions I've had to watch just go round for 4 or 5 laps, burning up fuel, and then setting the quit lap after about 4 or 5 warm-up laps.
Yeah, you can warm up the tires that way as well.
Yeah, so it's definitely an option. Charles is going to come in and change those tires. But yeah, Furion might feel that come the race. 2 really fast laps on one set of tires can take a lot of wear out of them.
Yeah, but like the fact that he just set fastest lap on the mediums, surely he's gonna be able to just run away with it unless someone can match his time. Charles Leclerc tried to, but he invalidated it.
Yeah, I reckon Charles has potentially got some time to find. He was definitely pushing as though he did have time to find. And I reckon everyone down to about Layer is potentially still in this.
Yeah, so we're gonna see Bloth here on a fast lap actually, on the medium, so he's gonna also try it, just like Furion did. Last lap he set was on the hards.
Yeah, sorry, Bloth's lap, like you say, is in fact currently on the hard, so you'd anticipate at least 4 or 5 tenths, I'd say, to be found if everything goes to plan, potentially more, because this might suit his driving style.
Yeah, he might have practiced only the mediums, we don't know.
That'd be brave, I tell you what, that would be very brave, practicing exclusive medium. He's got a kick of oversteer, however, through turn number 9, and that won't assist him in the slightest. He's 7 tenths up on his time, though, as he comes through sector 2. So this is looking pretty solid. 7 tenths at the moment would put him right into P10, and that's only 2 sectors that he's done. He's going to get a tow down the straight from Davey Lee TV. He's going to break into the final corner. You'll find a lot of time here just on the brakes. Cuts it a lot, but just about gets away with it. On the traction, much, much better than we've seen in previous laps. Where's he going to put Bloth? P11. He was a
Oh.
second up on his time, but he couldn't quite catch Critical Corey in the McLaren.
I reckon he's gonna go on the softs then as well. I do not see him not going on the softs.
I don't think it's worth starting that far down the order to have the contradictory tire strategy.
Yeah, his teammate Handicap is currently out on what I believe is a fast lap on the soft, so he was definitely not happy in P14, which makes sense.
Yeah, Handicap's 0.8 of a second up on his time as he comes across the
1
sector
second and
splits.
8 tenths even.
So, oh yeah, sorry. So he's going to accelerate out of the hairpin, and it was pretty reasonable, but he's not used all the track there, and that might have scrubbed a little bit of speed as he put in a lot of steering lock through the kink at turn 12 as well. How's his braking for turn 13? It's so late, and that's because he's going in the pit lane. Almost gave me a heart attack. He just kept on accelerating.
Why? He was so much... Or maybe he invalidated it. That's the only reason I could see why he would give up such a quick lap.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of much of another reason. I hadn't noticed that it was invalidated, but like you say, that seems just about the only reasonable excuse for that.
Yeah, I wonder, is Charles Leclerc out on a fast lap? I believe he is. Just crossed the finish line. So unless he gets blocked here, he's gonna try his absolute best on his... what would be his last attempt to beat when he goes into the wall. He will not beat Furian's time.
That's not going to plan for Charles. How's his front wing looking?
It's fine, but he lost a lot of time there.
Yeah, I'm just thinking you wouldn't be able to go in the pits and make it round again, but you could potentially come round and try one more time, so he's not all out of it yet. What we're seeing from Furion, however, he's also currently on an outlap. He's going to be relatively pushed to make it round in time, but I think he will. It's just the Renault behind him that'll certainly have to put in a bit of a quicker outlap than he'd want to. And this is Furion on the soft tire, so you've got to feel with Charles in front of him on track, even if Charles improves, Furion will have a time ready to put himself pole, whether or not he wants to use it or not.
Hey, come on, surely he goes P2 on the mediums rather than P1 on the softs.
I don't know, we've seen Furion be pretty solid on his tire management before, so whilst one strategy might be quicker than the other, I think Furion's the kind of guy just to take track position. I don't think anyone's going to get past him on track, regardless of when he's on the optimal strategy or not. So, pole position for Furion, storm away from the front of the race.
Yeah, okay, so he's in fact going to go for a new fast lap here, Charles Leclerc, with whatever fuel he has left.
Yeah, which, like we mentioned, he's only got one sector worth of wear on these tyres, and you do find a reasonable amount of time per lap of fuel. Say he's used an extra couple laps of fuel there, that'll be almost a tenth that he'll have compared to what you would do if you came straight out the pits and tried to set a lap. So, what can Charles do? There's a Williams in the wall, which has not impacted him, but he's a little bit lucky that Williams wasn't slightly further up the track, because then it would have been right on the racing line. Instead, Ferrari curves through 8 and 9, keeps it way, way wide, and then just swoops across, trying to take the path of least resistance. He's purple in Sector 2, so it's looking pretty reasonable for Charles so far. I don't know what his Sector 1 time was like, but he could be on for an improvement. He was really, really aggressively on the power out the hairpin, and that might pay off as he comes down this back straight. DRS wide open, and all he's thinking about is the break point. When do you stop? Exactly on the 100-meter board for Charles. He takes a very, very good line through the final corner. What's the time going to be for Ferrari? He approaches the line, and he goes pole. He goes pole by 0.2 of a second from Furion. Furion is just coming out of the hairpin, and he's invalidated his lap. Charles will be on pole.
I think Furion is happy with that though. P2 on the mediums, I personally would rather take that, but we cannot take away this from Charles Leclerc. It was a brilliant lap. Definitely deserves P1.
It was a very, very good lap. It's the kind of lap where it just seemed like everything went right for him. And whilst I do think Furion could have beaten it, he's elected not to, and that's all you need to be on pole.
Yeah. I mean, this is a pretty stacked grid. We have a P2 medium runner and a P11 medium runner and a P15 hard runner. All the other tires will be soft. Yes, it is.
Yeah, this should be a good one. I'm excited, and this does have, you know, championship implications. You got Furion leading the way, and then positions 2 and 3 are reserve drivers as such, so drivers that come in and fill seats, and in fact are based in higher tiers. But Cosman, P4 is on 35. Then you got Jedla, P5, 33. Danny Lanfear is on 30. Davy Lee TV is on 24. So there's a whole bunch of guys that could really use a good result here to leapfrog a whole bunch of other guys.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder, while we're waiting for everyone to load in, where is DJ Mario on the grid?
Where's DJ Mario on the grid? I didn't catch it, actually. We'll have to wait and see where DJ Mario pulls away from.
He has 2 points right now in the championship standings, I believe. Maybe not ideal, but not too bad. I mean, it's points at least. Better than what George Russell achieved.
Yeah, DJ Mario currently P20 in the championship. He's got 2 points. P20 obviously might sound like you're in last, but just to clarify, this championship standings table that I've been given has 38 positions on it because you've got all sorts of reserve drivers in here as well. So P20,
P12.
It's almost the top half of the grid. If you can pick up a few points here from 12th, you could be looking pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I hope he will. P12 right now on what shouldn't be the soft tires, considering he starts out of the top 10. But I mean, that's for him to decide, I guess. I can actually take a look just because
DJ Mario is starting on the medium tires.
Yeah, he would make sense.
Yeah, DJ Mario and Tyson Taylor both making that decision. Interestingly, all the guys behind that have gone on the soft tire. So you've only got Fury and DJ Mario and Titan on the medium tire.
That tells me that Handicap did not like the feel of the hard tires on at all, and he does not want to try them. At least not for the beginning.
Troubling, I'd say, for DJ Mario and Tyson Taylor, because the medium will give significantly less traction off the line, which could then result in them getting mugged into turn 1 and 2.
I mean, I remember, because like this was quite a while ago, but I think it was Monza, and I was bored, so I started P20 as like Max Verstappen on hards or mediums, and I tried to work myself up the field, but I just could not do it because you're so slow compared to all the other cars in the beginning on those slower compounds. Like the benefits doesn't kick in until about 10 laps later, and you might have already lost too much by then.
Yeah, it's especially at tracks like this, and you stated Monza as well, where you're braking for the chicane, turn in on what is often a hill, and then accelerate out. It's really, really reliant on keeping your tires in check, and the hard tires just don't offer the same grip.
Yeah, definitely not. And the last corner as well. It's a lot easier on soft.
The guys pulling into the grid, all filing into position. They'll all be hoping they've got their engines cool, but their tires and brakes hot. Furion line up on his grid spot, and the rest of the grid's going to form up pretty quickly here, so you won't have to wait too long for the beginning of round 5 in Tier 4 here at Delta Motor Racing. Furion leads the way in the championship, but it's Charles Leclerc on pole. Who's going to get the better start? The lights go out. We're racing in Canada. It's a pretty good start from Charles, but he's going to come under pressure from Furion. He'll have the inside line into 1, and I don't think Furion will pressure there. There's a little bit of contact between the Alfa Romeo and the Racing Point for P3 and 4. And further back in the field, it seems like everybody's just about going to file through relatively cleanly, which is good to see. Charles already trying to make a break for it. He's got 0.6 over Furion, who is under threat potentially from the Alpha of Bogdan, which might be that medium tire that he did 2 fast laps on in qualifying, coming back to bite him a little bit, and nobody's brave enough for a move through the first bit, but there's a squabble for P number 7 as Danny Lanfear was a little bit out of shape, and that left him under threat from the Mercedes behind, and there's moves ahead as well as the Haas cuts across the chicane. That's going to give Pure Milan and Lord P the Viper a place there as they descend into turn number 10. You've got to get on the brakes, get it stopped, and there's the McLaren. Critical Corey down the inside of David Lee TV. He's got the move done on the power, and no DRS at this point in the race, so that should be it, just about done and dusted. The leaders come up towards the final corner. It's Charles from Furion, from ASR Bogdan, then you've got a big gap back to the first Renault, of Lord P the Viper. As Charles Leclerc sets fastest lap, Critical Corey spins out. He was in P10. He lost it at the Wall of Champions, and it claims yet another victim, just turn number 14. Fear Milan must have picked up some damage. We saw a little bit of carbon fiber flowing through the first sector.
His wing flew off in like the third corner.
Yeah, so he picked up damage, changes his tires, changes his wing, and he'll be out and away. But that was That was an exciting start, to say the least, and some pretty hard but fair racing, I'd say.
Yeah, very clean racing compared to what you can usually see on lap number 1. Usually there's at least one big crash, and while we did have at least one fairly big crash, I don't think it was inflicted because someone else hit someone. It was just a driving mistake.
Yeah, it was just a little bit of an error. Got too greedy through what I believe was turn 4, and it caught them out, to say the least.
Yeah, so Critical Core, he was the one who crashed into Roll of Champion, wasn't he?
Yeah, Critical Corey came through, got on the power a little bit too early on what will be cold tires, and it did bite him.
Yeah, so what do we think? Will he be the only one?
I very much doubt it. The top 3 at the moment, Furion looks quicker than Charles, but Bogdan looks quicker than both of them on that soft tire, I would say.
He's not, in fact, because Furion just had the fastest lap and Bogdan did not.
Yeah, but he looks racy behind as the Alpha because he was already on Furion's tail the previous lap as DRS is enabled. So anticipate some overtakes in this leading bunch down the back straight, but they all just need to hold station. You got to remember, like I said, DRS detection points are in weird places. You got DRS zone down this straight, so you'll see the rear wing flip open. This was checked for that 1 second gap before turn 6. It's not midway through the corner. You just need to stay close for the whole lap here if you want a chance of making an overtake. And that's what Furion's doing. He's right in the gearbox. And in fact, he's going to get the move done on Charles before the hairpin. That is remarkable. That must have been a mistake from the Ferrari. The Ferrari now under pressure from Bogdan as well. Bogdan doesn't want to get held up. He thinks he's fighting for the race win. He's tried to shove the Ferrari off the track. That spun both of them round at turn number 11. And they've gone from fighting for the lead to plummeting down the order. Charles Leclerc, P11, P12, P13. Bogdan is just about going to hold it in 5th position, I believe, but that did not go to plan. Do you see what happened there? As the Renault is now put into the Wall of Champions and was definitely put into it by the Williams there. That was the Williams of Danny Lanfear. He's fighting with the Renault for championship positions. That's going to bring out the virtual safety cars. That Renault is in quite a hazardous position on the exit of turn 14.
I mean, Lord P the Viber is gonna count his lucky stars after that, and we usually don't see him. Oh shit! We usually don't see him this high up on the grid as I accidentally hit my table. But he's P2 right now, and he could just take so much advantage of that. He was close enough to just be able to cruise by without being involved in the collision.
Yeah, let's take a moment to break down those incidents. We had the first one, of course, between Bogdan and Charles, and Bogdan was trying to get the move done, trying to follow Furion through after what must have been a mistake from the Ferrari. And, well, he had the racing line, he was on the inside, but the Ferrari doesn't have to go off the track to avoid Bogdan. And Charles didn't, and subsequently both of them just spun as Bogdan tried to edge across the track.
I mean, Bogdan is not in that bad of a position though, and I believe he was the one who got hit by Charles Leclerc, so a bit of justice there. As
it was the other way around.
What was it actually? Did Bogdan hit Leclerc?
So Bogdan was on the inside, opened up the line on exit, but also there's walls on this track, so Leclerc couldn't move. And as Bogdan was trying to move across, he got his rear wheel caught on Charles as Charles was just going in a straight line. So that was definitely on the Alpha, I would say.
A bit of a scrap here. DJ Mario and Bloth here for P4. Just changing positions as they cross the line. Right now, Bloth spins out DJ Mario. A bit too close there.
Yeah, Bloth did not leave racing room on the inside.
Definitely not.
Essentially do what the other Alpha was trying to do to Charles and just edge across. And this time it was DJ Mario who came off worse from that. And that's a shame because both those guys were having such a great fight through the field in these early laps. And that's put pay to any progress that Mario was trying to make there.
Yeah, I believe, I do not know who got the penalty, but someone definitely got a penalty. I believe that would be Bloth though, considering he definitely... Oh, no, DJ Mario spins again as I speak. He did lose his front wing, so that could be why, perhaps struggling to turn, which would make sense considering his wing is completely gone on the right side.
Yeah, and that's potentially a little bit more of a racing incident. I don't know. If you had to say someone is at fault, I would say it was Bloth, but Bloth had the inside line into turn 1 and is fully entitled to open up the line there. And the Alpha was on the inside. The Alpha stayed there. Bloth tried to turn for the corner. There was an incident. So potentially a bit more on Bloth than Mario, but it's certainly not intentional, so to speak, that either one of them took the other out the race.
Yeah, luckily for us, we do not need to judge whose fault it was because we cannot set the penalties, so we
Yeah,
can just observe and comment what we see.
I'm sorry, but Bloth has now got it wrong. He got it wrong out of turn number 4. He oversteered and he's in the wall. He hit the wall. Carbon fiber everywhere. That's going to bring out the safety car. That was a huge incident.
And I can't believe I did not catch that. I was spectating Vlad Red because he was closing up on, I believe it was Bloth in fact, but the camera angle was just not good enough for me to see what happened.
Yeah, turn 4, you have to turn through the left-hander in your acceleration as you come down the hill. There was a little bit of a slide from Bloth, the back end coming round a touch. It then bounced off the wall, which, given that he's already correcting in the direction that now the car is trying to move on, just spun him into the right-hand wall and shattered the car, to say the least. There was bits of carbon fiber everywhere and his tires were unattached. That was a big incident.
So he didn't get hit, it was his own fault.
He didn't get hit. Handicap was closing him down, both of them making their way through the field, and potentially felt the pressure and just pushed too hard is what happened there.
So all the Toro Rosso points will be in the hand of one guy here. He most certainly will feel the pressure to deliver here, as his teammate can't deliver any points for the team.
Yeah, but Handicap's doing well. Handicap's doing well as
P4,
DJ
not bad
Mario
at all.
enters the bits. He's started way down the order and he's just cut through the field. He's on the pits, changed to the mediums, and he's not going to lose many positions there. He's going to come out in what I believe is P5. So that's worked very well for Handicap, and he should be able to take this medium tire to the end. It'll be a long stint, but it's possible.
Charles Leclerc is in fact back into P7, so the safety car is definitely what he needed to have a chance to get back into the top 3. He might still not have a chance, but if he's quick enough, this is his only chance to climb now that the cars will square up.
Yeah, the issue for Charles is going to be he's got 3-lap-old tires on, which won't matter at the moment, but in about 10 or 11 laps, say, when the tires do begin to go off, his tires are going to feel a lot less sticky than the cars in front of him.
Let's not forget that he is the pole sitter though, so he definitely got quite a bit of pace in him, even if his tires might not be as good as the ones behind or in front.
Yeah, and the other guy who this impacts quite heavily is going to be Furion. Furion, as a result of that incident between Charles and Bogdan, was a long way up the road, but now he's got Lord P the Viper right behind him, and just behind that, the guy who's involved in the incident, Bogdan's there, so it's going to be tricky, that's for sure, for Furion.
Yeah, he's on the same compound as everyone else right now though, compared to the start of the race, so that's always something, but it's definitely not gonna benefit him whatsoever.
Yeah, Furion was in just the right place as those incidents occur and the safety car was deployed. He managed to get into the pits, the guys behind him also pitted, which means that he's come out on a fresh set of mediums, but he also started the race on the medium tyre compound, so given that 2-tyre compound rule, he will have to make a second pit stop at some point.
That's very true.
He needs to open a gap after the safety car period.
Yeah, he actually does. And also, as we can see right here, Critical Corey is in fact lapped, but since it's safety car conditions, he will still be behind Furion, so everyone will be able to drive past him as soon as the safety car is over. But at least for Furion, that means that he has some distance between him and... Oh, as I say that, they actually drive past him during the safety car.
Yeah, that's...
Are they allowed to do that?
I would say no in real life, but obviously the game might have some strange functions in order to deal with this situation. So in real life, the cars either get released to come around onto the back of the pack, or they stay where they are. They're not taken away track position as such under the safety car. They either gain something to be back on the pack, as the safety car will come in this lap, or they just stay where they are. So that's a little bit unusual, but at least it means that he shouldn't be quite so involved in the battle for the lead.
Yeah, but no, Lord P the Viper keeps his distance though, so Furion still has a bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, and I believe Critical Corey is now back through. I think there's some ghosting happening under the safety car is how it's decided to deal with it. So Furion, he's got the pace. He was P2 on the grid on the medium tyre, and he's going to go early on this restart. Court Lord P, the Viper, napping a little bit as he's already got a second over him, and Bogdan as well was a little bit slow on the reaction times. It's Furu Milan, however, who might be a little bit under pressure as Bogdan picks up a 3-second time penalty. That's not good for the Alfa Romeos. All the cars file into turn number 1. Nobody quite close enough to have a move. Handicap, however, is right on the back of Fioren Milan with considerably fresher tyres. So that's where you want to be watching. Handy has been surging through the field so far this race. Has definitely got more pace than they showed in qualifying. And now they've got to try and get past Fioren Milan before the top 3 get away.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the battle to watch right now is between from P5 to P8. They're all very close to each other, which would make sense considering they just got out of safety car conditions.
Yeah, and he's really, really close to the back of the Racing Point as they come towards the hairpin. I don't think he'll quite be close enough to try and move. As I say that, he's going to stick his front wing in. He's just going to get away. The Racing Point saw him coming and managed to avoid any contact there, but that was ambitious from Handicap. I think he just got a little bit caught out by how early Milan had to brake, but Handicap gets away with it. He's still just trying to tuck into the slipstream, and he's going to pull out, take a look, to show himself to the mirrors, but he's not close enough to try the move because no DRS yet. It'll get enabled probably throughout this lap.
Yeah, I agree with the Handicap's decision to not make a dive bomb. It would be fun to watch, but definitely not worth it. You're P5, you're clearly quicker, just get the move done.
Yeah, but he does need to get it done sooner than later because the longer he's behind Milan, not only do the front 3 get further away, but Vlad Red behind him is going to be closing in. He's going to be there when the DRS is enabled, and you just want to get away. You want to open a second up to the cars behind you, so you're only focused on what is ahead on the road.
Yeah, and he's closing in even more than last lap right now, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it without the DRS.
Yeah, it is possible to make a move into the hairpin. It's available as one of the Red Bulls. I believe that's 5-7 cuts across the chicane, and he'll give back any penalty, any places that he gained from that. Of course, the game does make sure of such things. So, Handicap, he's very, very close to the back of the Racing Point. No DRS this time around either. So, Milan just breaks the slipstream on exit, leaves around a little bit, and then he won't be under threat into the braking zone at turn number 13. Fortunately for Handicap, however, the battle behind, as Charles picks up a time penalty, I was just about to mention his battle. Charles behind is locked in a battle with Vlad Red, and those two are keeping itself very, very occupied as the Ferrari takes a look down the inside of that silver Mercedes, but not quite close enough into turn 1. So that's just taking the pressure off of Handicap and allowing the Toro Rosso, that blue car, just to focus on what's ahead of him and not worry about the mirrors. As Handicap pick of oversteer at exactly where his teammate had the same thing happen and ended up out the race, so he's got to be careful. Don't push too hard. Don't wreck the tires. Just wait for the DRS zone, mate.
Yeah, and it will come very, very soon. I believe it's this lap, right?
Yes, DRS is enabled. They've had the first DRS zone just there between turns 7 and 8. Now you're exiting 9 and you curve round this slight kink in the road into the hairpin. Handicap's further back than he has been on previous laps, but the DRS gains you a considerable amount of speed down the straight. He accelerates. Whiskey picks up a second of the 3-second time penalty, which isn't ideal. Handicap quite far away coming onto the straight. He was about 7/10 back, and subsequently it's just going to be nowhere near the Racing Point when you would be looking to make the move.
Yeah, and it does have a lot of ERS. I believe he might be saving up because he's not using a lot of ERS, so now he's saving up for it. So in a couple of laps he might just make sure that he can get the move done.
Yeah, and Charles Leclerc meanwhile gets past Vlad Reed. The two are very close on exit. There was a little bit of contact as Vlad tried to get the cutback out of turn 2, where Charles has got that one done on the road. Of course, he does have a time penalty, so now he needs to just carry on moving, keep going forward. As Jamie Chadwick's race engineer would say, eyes forward, let's get going.
Yeah, with the 3-second time penalty, it's definitely gonna make things harder, but we know he's quick on this track, and we have seen some mistakes from Handicap, so not impossible.
Yeah, Handicap this time around, he's going to be a little bit closer to the back of the pink car up ahead of him. So this might be a little bit more of an opportunity. He's about 4/10 away and gets a really nice X from the hairpin. He's not going to lose anything on traction. And this could be the opportunity for the Toro Rosso. Gets in the slipstream, tucks in. The slipstream hasn't been broken by the Racing Point. Can Handicap close? He looks to the right. Not quite close enough. He'll get the DRS again, however. Out of the final corner. The rear wing pops open. And that just reduces the drag so heavily as the Toro Rosso down the inside. Surely this is job done. No, the Racing Point's going to stick it out. Hangs it around the outside of turn 1. That gives the inside for turn 2. Pushes Handicap off the road, which more than entitled to do, given that you are the leading car into that complex. He's going to hold the place once more.
Yeah, that was some really close, fair racing. Almost getting the move. And we got the move done, but he didn't stick with it, so Milan could get it back.
Yeah, and Handicap will be able to see his mirrors. It's got a red car in it, and it's getting bigger and bigger, so it is. So, the gap back to Charles at the moment, 1.7. Handicap is only just over a tenth off the back of the Racing Point. Surely he's not going to have a look into the hairpin, is he? He's going to give it a go on the brakes. He got such good traction out of turn number 9. That'll put him in front. Crucially, was he in front as they came across the DRS detection point?
He wasn't. No, he wasn't.
So he'll get given the DRS down the back straight. That will counteract the slipstream, and you'll also have the DRS in the pit straight. So that could be job done for Toro Rosso. If the Racing Point wants any chance of fighting this, they need to make sure they get a good exit. That's exactly what they've done. Racing Point pulls to the inside. They won't have the speed at the second half of the straight, however, once they're at the slipstream. That just plays into Handicap's hands. Now, he needs to gap the Racing Point. He needs to use the fresher tyres that he's got to pull away from that pink car behind him.
Yeah, he knows that Milan will have to pit before he has to pit, if he even has to pit. I believe he does, but I don't know for sure. It depends on how well he can keep those tires in check.
Yeah, I think the stint and on of itself is doable from when Handicap changed onto those medium tires. However, it's going to be compromised by the fact that he's been in that battle. We saw he spun up the wheels out of turn 4 at one point, and then he had to brake really hard into the hairpin to get the move done. And all that sort of aggressive driving will not help extend the tire stint in the slightest.
Yeah, definitely not. So now it's Milan's turn there. But he's close enough to get the DRS, but not close enough to gain a lot of time on Handicap, sadly.
Yeah, it's the same situation we saw with Handicap 2 laps previously. You come onto the back straight. In order to make a move, you really need to be within half a tenth. To stay close, you need to be within a second to make sure you get the DRS. Milan, 7 tenths back. So he'll be able to stay close, and that makes up for the effect of the dirty air through the first sector, but it doesn't gain him anything.
Yeah, I'm sure Charles Leclerc would love to for Handicap to break the DRS of Milan so that he can close up a bit more, because every single straight Charles Leclerc will lose time because he does not have any DRS to work with, whereas Milan does.
Yeah, and Charles, I'd be surprised if Charles can get these tires to the end. They've got a 3-second time penalty, and they're already 11 lap old mediums on that car, so with 20 laps left to go, that's going to be a push to get that to the end.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna go for it. I think he's gonna opt for the softs instead towards the end of the race. Furion has to do that, speaking of having to opt for softs, but he leads with 6 seconds to Lord P the Viber, who, to be fair to him, has managed to keep himself in P2 as Milan goes into the pits.
Yeah, so a pit stop around this track is about 18 seconds. It's 18.2 by last year's F1 data as such, so in the game it'll probably range somewhere between 18 and 19, giving it a little bit of variance. Give him an 18.5 second stop for Furion. He would come out right behind the Haas of Lair in P7. That's not awful, but that's a lot of cars to get past, so he does need to keep extending this gap. He's only got 6.7 to Lord P the Viper behind, who in theory could go to the end, however I doubt he will. Taking into account Charles pitting, it's the gap to Vlad that he'll be looking to get nice and big, I'd say.
So, if he can get past DJ Mario, he's gonna have a lot of free air to work with, and he has to try to gain as much time on everyone ahead of him, and all of them might have to pit. Not guaranteed, but I think they will pit, so this could work out in Milan's favor if he's quick enough in the free air.
Yeah, it could definitely work for Milan, coming out on a hard set, so he'll be able to push as hard as possible. He's very close to the back of DJ Mario at the moment, so potentially take a little bit of a look at that one. He's pushing Mario, but with them both on the hard tires, the hard tire doesn't really go off for a long time. So 0 lap hards, 9 lap old hards, they're gonna
9
be
laps
pretty
are
much...
better because obviously Milan's tires are gonna be very cold.
Yeah, but Milan does have the DRS, and he's going to pull out the slipstream into turn 1. We've seen this go wrong for drivers before. He's just about going to be able to back out of it. He was very hot into turn 1. If he tried to turn that in there, he was definitely just going to drift across into the Alpha. So he got out of it, managed to get away with any potential consequences, and just stays on the diffuser right underneath the gearbox of that Alpha. The Alpha taking a lot of curb. That's going to unsettle the car on this hard tire. It's got less grip, so you do need to be more careful about things like that with the hards. DRS pops open for Milan, but he's not going to be close enough as they descend down. It was very close. He got down the inside a little bit, but it wasn't enough. We've seen Handicap try and move into the hairpin. Is Milan going to be close enough? He's going to give it a go. It's the Alpha who goes very deep. They're going to have a little bit of a bump and a barge on the exit, but it's not quite going to unsettle. I believe the Racing Point, however, will have the DRS, so they're neck and neck as they come onto the back straight. Racing Point on the inside for the final corner has the DRS to help it stay level, but potentially running a little bit more downforce anyway than that Alpha, because the Alpha just stayed alongside it down the straight, which is simply remarkable. However, Racing Point will have the DRS down the pit straight once more, and that should be job done for Milan. Now he's got to look to close up that gap, or the virtual gap rather, to Furion.
Yeah, and I mean, as I said, he has a lot of free air to do that. And Furion, he's gaining a lot of time on Lord P the Viper, which doesn't really matter. Like, he's just getting away from him, securing his victory. And I don't think anyone will be able to stop him unless he's involved in an accident right now, because he's just so quick.
Could end up mattering for Furion, to be fair. Like, if Lord P Viper can take this tire to the end, then Furion would come out 10 seconds behind him at the moment.
That's true. That's very true.
And have to use up tires in order to close up to P the Viper, and then still have to make the overtake. So if Lord P the Viper can keep this set of tires in check, they're definitely in competition for the race win.
Yeah, but can he though? And will he want to do that, considering we don't really see him this high up on the order very often? Like, this is the best he's ever been. Does he really want to risk it for a P1, taking the mediums to the end? Or just secure the P2?
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma. I was just looking to see if I can figure out where he is in the standings. He's currently 18th with 6 points. So 20 points for P2. That's a lot of points. That's
yeah, a lot more than Others has.
Points. If he could pick up 20 points, it's obviously not taking into account the other guys from the session, currently that would put him P7 in the championship from P18. So
do you really risk it then? I don't think you do. But that's up to him.
I think you base it off of what Bogdan does. Bogdan's got to be your kind of benchmark as such. Bogdan has 3 seconds penalties, Viper has none. So you can wait and see what Bogdan does, and it doesn't matter if he gets past you on track in the pit stops, because you just have to stay close to the gearbox. So I think if Bogdan stays out, you have no reason to pit, so you just stay out and there's a chance of beating Furion. If Bogdan pits, Handicap pits, then you've got to look at covering.
Charles Leclerc will in fact pit for new medium tires as well, so that's gonna be his last pit stop of the race, and Bogdan gets another penalty, so things are looking really good for Lord P the Viper right now, if he can keep it out of the wall.
Flyer picks up 3 seconds of 10 penalties, and it's deceivingly easy to do that here. Obviously, you'd be like, oh, it's got walls on the outside. How could you possibly use track limits? But whilst there's walls on the outside, it's very easy at these chicanes to just brake a little bit too late and run deep over the second part, which is where a lot of these penalties are going to be picked up.
Yeah, definitely. Right now, Lair and Vlad Red is still the closest battle on track, but I believe Lair has... No wait, both of them have 3 second penalties, I believe. So it is in fact a on-track battle for P5, which is very high up on the grid, to be fair.
Yeah, and Lair is going to get the DRS here. Can he get close? He'll potentially look to the inside because it's not being covered by the Mercedes. The door's been left wide open for Lair. He'll say, thank you very much. I'll take my car through that
Lord P is gonna pit.
doorway. And Vlad, he won't get the DRS down the straight, and that could be job done. As you stated, however, during that, Lord P, the Viber, has come into the pit. So rather than waiting to respond, he's going to take the initiative, put on another set of medium tires, and be able to push to the end in this race. I reckon Lair will definitely have to pit. The car on 14 laps medium, will maybe have to pit. What has caused this is the fact that Charles has pitted, which has opened up a window for Viber to come out in P6.
Yeah, I do believe that they will pit, and if they don't, I think Lord P is gonna be quite a lot faster than them. To be fair, not like 25 seconds faster, but definitely faster, so he's banking on the rest of the guys pitting.
Yeah, he'll start making progress pretty pronto onto this group, especially since the cars in front of him are this battle of Lair and Vlad. It's now for P4 on track, as Whiskey picks up another time penalty. He really is collecting like they're trading cards. But this time around, Vlad about 7/10, and like we've seen time and time again, 7/10 is not close enough to make the move if this isn't a mistake from your opponent. So you do need to be closer than Vlad is currently managing down that back straight. However, he got a really nice run through the wall of champions. He almost had to go into turn one, decided that it wasn't worth the lunge as such, and just files back in. Charles, meanwhile, puts in a very solid lap. He's come out on that first medium tires, instantly gone fastest of anybody, and Viber's stop prompted Bogdan to come in. So Bogdan only 0.3 of a second behind Viper, and this is for track position and final race position. This really matters for these two.
And what is this from Furion? He's not gonna go for the soft tires, he's in fact gonna go for the hard tires, which means that right now the handicap is P1.
Yeah, but Furion, he's only half a second behind, so that would seem somewhat arbitrary to have the lead game back for Furion. And all of these medium runners pitting at this kind of optimal stage if you want to make the pit stop has allowed Furion to almost get away with one here, I would say. He didn't have to pit and then come back through the field. Instead, everybody else pitted, and that opened up the space for Furion. His handicap puts up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in.
But why go hards and not softs?
He might not have a fresh set of softs left, is the only thing I can think of. Obviously, the drivers do pick their tyre compound selections as they come into it, and Furion might never have planned to run on the softs.
Yeah, but I feel like there's enough laps left to be able to go the full stint on softs, but he opts for the hards. So, like, you're not gonna be able to set the fastest lap on that.
I would agree. I would 100% agree. I think in Furion's position, it's not worth pushing for the fastest lap. He's going to be pretty clear at the top of the standings here if he can win the race, so it's not worth the risk for the one additional point. But going on the hards is definitely an interesting decision. Maybe just doesn't want the tires to go off as Viber just is under huge amounts of pressure. He's going to get past potentially both Vlad, and Bogdan is right on him as well. So Vlad was fighting with Lair. He's been caught out by 2 in 2 corners there. Viber's now closing right up onto the back. However, in this group, he's one of the guys without the DRS. So the Alfa Romeo Bogdan closes into the final chicane. Not going to be close enough there, but of course there's no second DRS detection point. So Viber again will not have the DRS down into turn one, but it doesn't matter. He's going to go for an aggressive move on the Haas anyway. There's a little bit of contact, rear wheel to front wing on that Haas. They get away with it, but that's allowed Bogdan straight through as well. And if I was Viber, I'd be wanting to put the Haas between myself and that Alfa Romeo.
Wasn't Lord P the Viber like 1.5 seconds in front of Bogdan? So Bogdan has gained quite a lot from this pit here. Pitted one lap later.
Bogdan did a really good in-lap. It looked as if he'd been saving tires in ERS, and then he just floored the end of the lap and closed about a second on that lap alone.
Handicap's gonna get past Lair as well, so he's up into P4, which is where he was before, and Lair's gonna have to pit soon, I believe. He's just losing a bunch of positions right now. Yeah, two more there, down in P7 now.
Yeah, Vlad eventually gets past Lair, and Charles, of course, on the fresher tires gets through as well. What's interesting about this battle for P2 is in second position, you've got Viber. He's on 3-lap-old mediums. Third position, you've got Bogdan on 2-lap-old mediums. Fourth position, you got Handy on 1 lap open regions. Those 3, as the race goes on, assuming, of course, nobody is obliteratingly quicker than anybody else, those should begin to come together, which will give us a really nice dynamic to the end of this.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a lot, a big difference between the tire wear on those 3 tires, but we can see that Bogdan, he's losing time to Lord P. the Viper. So I gained a lot, but now he's almost losing everything that is gained, up until this straight, of course, but of course he would gain time on a straight.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if you can bring it back down at all. Potentially a little bit of an error through the first sector. I wouldn't be surprised, however. Bogdan did a very quick in-lap and then a very quick out-lap. And if you blitz the tires on the first couple laps, you can take a lot of wear out of them very quickly without really realizing it, because you push the tires whilst they're cold. You don't let them gently come up to temperature, and that could cost him with regards to Handy behind.
Yeah, he's less than a second now, so he should be in Deros territory if he can stick with him here. Which I believe he can do, since he gained... we have seen him be very quick, definitely quicker than Lord P the Viper, but this seems to be such a good track for Lord P, so...
Yeah, of course, and of course Viper is in the Renault, and I got a little question for you, Edwin.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to fill the now empty Renault seat that Daniel Ricciardo will vacate for 2021?
So, here's the thing. I believe that if they can convince Alonso that they will be able to fight soon for podiums, he will join. Otherwise, it could really be anyone. Like, people say Bottas, which could definitely be a thing, but I'm not quite sure. What I think is more interesting than who will fill the Renault seat is who will fill the Mercedes seat.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be...
I hope Vettel, but I think Russell.
I think Russell as well, but it's an interesting one. So, I'm sorry, back to the race for a moment. Bogdan is alongside side pod to side pod of the Alpha and the Renault, and he's going to get that move done down into turn number 1.
He was quicker than I thought.
Very well executed in the end, and I've got to be honest, Bogdan looks pretty quick here. He won't be able to close into Furion, but that might just about give him P2, that move.
Yeah, he was, as I said, a lot quicker than I originally thought he was. It seemed like he lost time, but then in like 1 lap he gained a second and just breezed past him on the last final straight there, so not bad at all from him. Puts him in P2 as well.
Yeah, but back to that discussion for a moment with the Mercedes seat. So, Toto Wolff, he wants George Russell, obviously. George and Toto have a very, very good relationship, and for Toto, George represents the future. However, Daimler, they want Vettel because of just purely the marketing revenue that you could gain from going, look at our team, it's got 10 world titles, or potentially
and a German.
At that point, like,
and a German.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. What I would like to see is, I don't think Vettel will want to race too much in the new rule set. It's always difficult to adapt to a new car, and he's definitely at the twilight of his career as such. And I reckon just give him 1 year in a Mercedes car, and then when the rule change comes, which has been postponed, put George in, and let him dominate that kind of new Mercedes look for the future.
Exactly, that's I 100% agree with that. Just put Vettel next to Hamilton. Let's have another banger of a season before we change the rules, and bring in George Russell for that new rule set, because I agree, I don't think Vettel would like that too much, and he's on the end of his career anyway, so to let him have one last amazing season battling with Hamilton, and then he can call it quits and retire happily.
Yeah, so I also want to just go back to that Renault seat point for a moment, as Viper's not dropped away too far on this lap. He'll be very, very close come the end of this straight, which might open it up, but the Alpha is going to get DRS off of the Ferrari that it's lapping, so that'll work out very well. Bears Willman is going to help out Alfa Romeo a little bit. Normally, you might see Alpha helping out Ferrari. This time around, it's Ferrari helping out Alpha, and that'll just about defend it for this time round, and we'll wait and see what happens with Viper next time. For me, I think Renault should be looking to the future. They had they've got Ocon, who is potentially their driver going forwards, I think. French driver, French team, that's obviously going to be great. I think they should promote someone from their academy. I think Alonso...
Jack Aitken, maybe.
It's great. Like, Alonso is obviously a fantastic driver, but he can be very divisive with teams. And I don't think now is when you want that kind of driver. Potentially when you're already at the top, Alonso would be fantastic because he just brings that extra little bit. He's always pushing. But right now for Renault, they just need a new look like McLaren had, and then they need to look to the future. As Weber gets so close to the back of Bogdan, he actually has to park it for a moment, as in the hairpin. He was actually stationary for a touch there. That's going to really ruin his exit, as he was drifting out of turn 10, and that might be that battle over, because Weber is now very much out with a second.
Yeah, he won't have DRS anymore, sadly for him, so not gonna be as easy to overtake. But what do you think? Could Jack Aitken maybe be good enough?
Jack Aitken could be good enough. Zhu, I'm not going to try to pronounce his first name, but Zhu, of course, could also
Isn't it like Guianshu Su?
Yeah, it's something like that. You can try it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Renault have a couple really strong drivers in their academy, and I think just promote one of them up. You're not going to gain a title or whatever in this rule set, I don't think. So look to the future, give your drivers some experience, so as when you get a chance to be on an equal playing field with the budget cut and all of the new car developments, then you can really push, and that's when you want the drivers that can be in that car and develop it for the next 5-6 years.
But is Renault really looking that good though? I mean, who was like their biggest believer was Daniel Ricciardo. He left Red Bull to join Renault. He 100% believed that Renault would be good enough to challenge for podiums in the future, and after one season he decides to just give it up completely and move to another midfield team. So things can't be looking too good in Renault.
Yeah, it's awkward. I think, like I say, I don't think Renault are going to do anything magnificent in the current rule set. They're one of the teams, however, that is hugely helped by this budget impact, because given their current budget, it will just put them on par with Ferrari and Mercedes. So as soon as they're on par with budget, that Renault team traditionally has been very good at getting the maximum for its money. So if they can return to that value set, they could be very good. As Handicap got sideways for a moment out of that corner, he got away with it. But that's the second time he's been sideways out of 4, and he needs to be careful.
Yeah, so I think what's gonna be crucial for Renault if they can fix their stupid engine. Because it's so bad that 2 teams have decided to just stop buying it.
Yeah, I agree. It's at the time initially it was unreliable, but wasn't hugely slow. Now it's slower than the Honda and by far the least reliable of the bunch. So that's a big problem for them. That's what they need to fix. But then they've also got a car which in high downforce setup is not all that great. It just adds a lot of drag and doesn't add a huge amount of downforce for the amount of weight and drag you add. So they need to fix their downforce settings and their engine, which is a lot to do, but the downforce kind of gets done for them in a degree with the rule change. So they're just looking at their engine, so it's definitely going to be their chance come that new era of Formula 1.
I think that McLaren is looking better though, because they lost Sainz, but they got a pretty damn good replacement in Ricciardo. He seems to believe more in McLaren than Renault, so I think that when the new rules come in, McLaren should have possibly even more money than Renault, considering they will finish higher up in the standings, and they seem to have a much like, to me, I don't know if it's just Cyril, but it seems like Renault has a lot like a more toxic work environment compared to McLaren.
Yeah, I think it all comes from the fact that McLaren is a company that is run by McLaren, right? They set their own goals, they know what they have to achieve. Renault is essentially owned by the French government. So that puts so much more politics and external demands and goals and like quotas for what you've got to meet. And as soon as you bring in all that external stuff, you begin to struggle. So, and it's kind of what we saw in McLaren. McLaren started increasing their road cars, and initially they didn't get it right. And that was directly linked to the fact that their Formula 1 cars then started to go downhill. They've now essentially segregated the various divisions of their business to different people. and now it seems to be working for McLaren. I think Renault are struggling for a similar kind of thing. But Lord P, the Viper, is most certainly not struggling at the moment because he's closed the gap to Bogdan right down once more. It was temporarily up at about 1.2, 1.3 seconds. Now it's down to just half of a second. So it's not over yet for P2.
Yeah, he could definitely still do this. He is in DRS range, or maybe even this lap. Their tires are similarly old, so shouldn't be a problem there.
Yeah, he's going to get nice and close down the straight. He won't be close enough into the final chicane, but he might be close enough into the first corner. How close can he get? He'll just stick in the slipstream. No such
losing time on the straight.
And Bogdan picks up a 3-second time penalty.
Ooh.
That's huge. That could cost him P2 here. That's
definitely can.
Absolutely massive, so that is. Lord P the Viper is now essentially running in P2. Previously, he had to close up, make the move, stay in DRS, make sure you outbrake him on what was likely to be the final lap by the time he was close enough. Now he's just going to stay here. Pressure's off. Job done. Easy peasy.
Depends on how many penalties does he have.
I don't think Viber has picked up a single penalty.
I think he has 1, but I think Bogdan has 2 or 3. I'm gonna go ahead and guess 2.
Bogdan has multiple. I didn't catch whether he served them at the pit stops though, so...
Yeah, but this is looking very, very good for Lord P the Viper, who it initially did not look as good for.
Yeah, and you can see instantly, Viber is just dropped off. He's not pushing so hard to stay close to the back of the Alpha. Instead, he's just staying a comfortable distance and making sure that he's outside that dirty air so there's no errors. And that seems like it could be a winning strategy for Viber here.
Yeah, if I was Viber right now, I would just chill. And the handicap though, could he also get past Bogdan?
It's possible. Like I say, off of that 3-second time penalty alone, handicap will not be close enough. But Bogdan has picked up multiple throughout the course of this race. I believe Handy might also have one in there. So it depends on who served which penalties at the pit stops. And then it will be very tense as they come across the line to see where they finish. As Vlad Red picks up the 3-second time penalty, that shouldn't matter too much for him, as 5 second is a long way back.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's gonna matter. But we're closing in here. This is the final lap. We're on sector 2 right now, coming into the hairpin, so we're at the end game of the race now. This is where it all matters. Can Handicap close in enough on Lord P the Viper so he can get past Bogdan with the penalties, or really stay in P4?
Yeah, he's definitely trying, but Furion rounds the final corner, keeps it very far away from the wall of champions on that one. Weave says thank you to, well, in this case, only the marshals, and he crosses the line P1. Bogdan is going to cross the line in P2 unless there's a late mistake. He will definitely cross the line in P2, but where will he actually come across the time screens? He's going to weave, and that could potentially cost him to handicap if he's not careful. He loses P2 to Viber. Handicap is going to cross the line in P4.
He got a penalty!
He got a penalty for an unserved time penalty. That's going to rub salt into the wound, and it's also going to drop him down to P5 behind Charles. Charles, despite that early incident, manages to recover one from the death almost. He finds himself in P4. Milan is going to cross the board in P number 6. Vlad Red comes across for 7th position. Then you've got the Red Bull of 5-7 in 8th. And then a little bit of a gap. You've got about 10 seconds until DJ Mario himself. He'll bring his Alfa Romeo across the line in position number 9. But will he lose it to Lair? Lair picked up some late penalties, and I do not believe he did. So Lair will end in P10.
But I mean, this is big for Lord P the Viper. Could we possibly get an interview with that? With him, rather.
Quite possibly. It was an interesting race for Viper. I'll see what I can do. I'm hopping in to see who I can grab at the moment, getting down to the interviews department. But
yeah, that would be cool. We have never seen him this high up on the grid. What a race from him. This is big for him. That's gonna double his points like 2 or 3 times. How many? Do you get 18 points for P2?
Is it 20?
20, yeah, 18 for P3. Yeah, anyway, like he had 6 points and now he gets an additional 20. That's massive improvement. So we're talking
Yeah,
about
that's
Lair,
huge for Viper.
Lair finishing in P10. DJ Mario P9, that's gonna double his points as well. He has 2 points now, has 4. 5-7 P8, Vladred P7, Milan P6, Handicap P5. I believe that's his best finish as well, carrying the only points for Torosso this race as Bloth crashed early on. Georges Leclerc P4, Bogdan P3, and Lord P the Viper P2 with obviously Furion on top.
Yeah, so we have an interview lined up with Lord P the Viper. I just gotta hop him down through the various channels once again. Here we are. Congratulations on that fantastic finish, Viper. How are you feeling?
Kind of just waiting to come down a wee bit. Oh, jeez, that was intense at the end.
Yeah, like I think you are P18. Were you P18 in the standings? I believe so. And now you're P7, I believe, in the standings after just one race.
Yeah, I just kept it clean.
Is this your best track?
What is it?
Is this your best track?
I didn't think it was, but I think it might be. I've always liked Canada, but I wouldn't have ever called it my strongest track. But
yeah, what would you call your strongest track?
Oh, Austria. I like Austria.
Yeah, it's a good track.
I like a bit of Baku as well. I'm quite strong at Baku as well.
I mean, great race from you. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect you to finish this high up because I haven't seen you this high up before.
And then it was the early laps, and then that group of 3 at the front. There was a bit. I don't know what happened. All I saw was 2 cars around the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I just went for it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant race. Well done to you, and hopefully you will have a continuing good evening.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you too.
I got Handicap lined up for us as well. He had an up and down race, so we'll bring him right in. Handy, how are you doing? That one was up and down, topsy turvy.
Yeah. Best result of the championship so far, getting 5th. Could have been 4th if it wasn't for a corner cutting penalty.
Yeah, those happen all the time.
And me speeding in the pit lane.
So,
Sorry.
I believe you were in a voice call with Bloth. So, what happened to him? Hello?
Sorry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can now. Sorry, I
Okay.
talked to my dad.
Yeah, no problem. Do you know what happened to Bloth?
Well, I was right behind him when the incident happened. I think he just lost the rear and then slammed into the barrier past turn 5, going into 6.
Yeah, okay, understandable. That's very rough, but at least you got a lot of points for the team finishing P5.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you
No
definitely
complaints.
should. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can understand that.
Congratulations. It's good to see you get your best result so far. Were
Coming
you
from 15th on the
thinking of any
grid.
heroics? Yeah, were you thinking of any heroics like that when you were sat on the grid way down the order, to say the least?
I messed up my qualifying, so I was hoping that I could at least pick myself up in the race. I wasn't expecting top 5. I was hoping for just a points finish. Because, some drivers aren't the cleanest, but are certainly fast.
Yes. Well, congratulations anyway. Be sure
Thank you very
to
much.
have a good evening. You've earned it.
You too.
Fantastic. That's about all I've got lined up for us. Just to clarify, I had a little bit of a brain fart. It is, of course, 18 points for P2. I apologize to everyone who pointed that one out. And yeah, otherwise, I think we've done pretty well, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. This should mark the end of the stream then.
Yes, fantastic. Thanks to everybody who tuned in or was in chat or any of that. We really appreciate everybody. My name has been Tom Davis. That has been the wonderful, wonderful Edwin. And we will be back on Monday at 7 p.m. British time, 8 p.m. if you're in kind of most of Europe. I'm sure you can figure it out from the rest of the world. But yeah, we'll be back just then for the No Assist League. Meanwhile, I've got a podcast. That wonderful guy called Handy and the unfortunate Bloth are also on it with me. So be sure to check that out. You can find it just about anywhere. It's called Formation Chat - the podcast. This week we talked about Daniel App shenanigans and also had I'd say a heated debate about who the greatest drivers or riders from each decade are. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in.